Got another my old boots video for you guys. So I actually did a video on these to kind of show waxing, I guess you could say, versus, I guess the typical creams and stuff on the edge. So these originally were like I guess a brown stain, you could say, almost like not a shoe polish because it was more like a paint. And I sanded that off in that video. I'll link the video if I posted a while back, and then I kind of heated it with a little heat gun and melted wax into these. Otherwise, they're still original, but that is a modification. But anyway, this is a Frye, as you can clearly see here in the box. Pretty filthy box, but this specific model was called the Addison, and hopefully you guys can see that there. And I picked these up a little after I had those Arkansas boots. I think I mentioned, well, I did a my old boots video about the Arkansas. Those were also on Amazon buy. Those were super cheap. These were not quite as cheap, but they were still discounted quite a bit, you could say, over like the retail price. It's, I would say, pretty much the same pattern, but I guess this leather seems more of a corrected leather, and just kind of doesn't have as much character, I would say. The sole is different though. This is a V-bar half sole. I don't know, I feel like it's different than some of the other V-bar half soles I've seen, but it's, still a Vibram V-bar pattern. And then this is a proprietary Frye cap lift. I think this is the exact same one on the Arkansas boot, but the Arkansas boot was a full leather sole. This is like a half sole here. I think it's the same logo, which is the same logo on the box. They've since kind of changed up, I guess, their whole model being, I don't know, I think they still make that prison boot that's made in USA, but otherwise all their stuff's imported. I don't think they use the same last that these other boots were built on. That was a kind of a nice last. I mentioned that other my old boots video on the Arkansas boot, but I just wanted to just talk about this one real quick. Just might sell it, so I wanted, again, like these references, I guess, of boots I had, and for anyone who's curious about it. It's a decent boot. This one has the same kind of pour-on. I have a shoe tree in it, so I can't pull it out. It has the same pour-on footbed, which, some people would dislike, but it's comfortable. I think this one might have a leather liner for the vamp, whereas the Arkansas, it was like more of a cloth, synthetic type material. It's almost like what you'd see around the vamp, I guess, of like a sneaker or something. The Arkansas is a comfortable boot, but this one is too. But I think this was considered more of a premium. John Addison, I think, had something to do with the history, or maybe he's the creator of Frye. Way back when. This is an old brand, as you can see on the box. It says since 1863. So this was an old American brand, and I think he was the creator. So, this would be maybe, I don't know if it was considered their flagship boot, but was, I think, considered more premium. This leather is, very corrected, kind of, I don't know, fake looking, I guess, but I don't know, maybe it's like a calf. It could be like a calf leather, and maybe that's why it's more smooth. Makes me think of, maybe like the Alden 405 that I have, or I have a couple pairs that have calf leather, and it's similar to this, where it's very smooth. And didn't get a ton of wear on these, honestly, before I kind of moved away from this stuff and kind of got bitten by the whole P&W boot thing. But I'm kind of, I guess, swaying away from that a little bit. There's a lot of issues with those brands, and all the handmade problems. These boots are much more consistent, I guess you could say more machine done, whatever the justification, but we ended up with a nice pair of boots, and they're more symmetrical, and stitching is more consistent, and I don't know. I kind of think it's a shame that we lost out on some of these American-made, brand. I guess to me, I was thinking about this a lot lately with Truman, because Truman's sort of the only one in that space, I guess, of kind of a more simple Goodyear welted American-made boot. And I guess there's some other brands sort of in that. I don't want to talk about Oak Street because they don't even make their own boots, and they're just kind of doing runs from factories, but I guess technically they're still USA made. It's weird. It's more like a brand, I would say, than like an actual boot maker, like Truman is. Truman's all in house, right? You would say Frye and these other brands. Wolverine, I guess, still exists, so they're still there. And then Red Wing. I kind of don't think about Red Wing anymore. Just kind of moved away from that space, but their product's fine. It's just more basic. You never had remember their issues where they don't have a midsole and stuff. They kind of were more, I guess, on the work side, and not as much just like a decent boot. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that this stuff isn't available to us anymore. Kind of talked about that a bit in that last video. But anyway, just wanted to show you guys these. It is a decent boot. It looks better now with what I did to it. So, this brown kind of painted on edge dressing was kind of ugly, kind of more basic looking, and I think the wax that I did gives a little bit more contrast and a little more vibe. Kind of feels more like a nicer finishing, like stain that you'd see on more premium boots. It definitely elevates this one a little bit. Comfort on this one's very nice. These types of kind of more, I guess, classic lasts definitely, I would say, fit a bit better. This is an 11D, so is my Arkansas. I think it's the same last, to be honest. The shape of the boot's very similar, but I wore these, never had any problems, whereas the half down, that's half down for my Brannock. The half down on Brannock on a lot of these other lasts of the current kind of makers, it has not worked out very well for me. Some of them do, the 67, but I had to go wider. And then the 55, I guess I never tried it in a wide, but the 11D in the 55 was way too tight. And this is an 11D, and it's not way too tight. So it's kind of goes to show those. I'm not really sure why I went down that whole rabbit hole with the PNW boots. I guess it was just kind of the Americana vibe. And they are very heavy duty and well built, but those lasts are all kind of a mess, in my opinion. And this kind of more standard stuff is much better. Even you could even argue the Truman 79 is still. I did just buy a couple actually. One of them, both off eBay. One of them gently worn, and I still stand by, my comments that the 79 is a terrible last. But I kind of am gonna, I think, suffer a little bit with that natural pair because it's so cool. And it does seem like it's okay in 12D, but it's like, that's a 12D Truman, and this is an 11D Frye, and this fits better than the Truman 12D. So to me, that's kind of like, what are they doing with those lasts? They're just, all of them are kind of a total mess. Yeah, so real quick one, Frye Addison. This was from, I think I bought this maybe late 2018, something like that, 2019 maybe. I don't even think that late, probably 2018. They used to make USA stuff, and they used to make some nice boots. They're not super high end, but they were fine and comfortable and straightforward and simple. And this brand is, like many brands, has turned into a shell of its former self and makes imported junk now. You see Frye throw blankets at Costco a lot. I saw a Frye store that had clothes and boots in the, where was that? The Salt Lake City mall, not mall, the Salt Lake City airport. Flying through there, I was like, oh, there's a Frye store in an airport. So they're not what they were, unfortunately. Seems like a lot of brands are doing that. I think Allen Edmonds is headed down that path too. They were kind of what I thought of as kind of a standard American shoe and boot maker, and they're complete junk now, in my opinion. So it's sad, but it's reality that these brands are all just fading away and turning into kind of fake versions of themselves. But at least I have these, and if I end up selling them, somebody else could have them and enjoy them, because you can't get this kind of stuff anymore. The closest would be, I would say, Wolverine 1,000 Mile, but it's not really the same thing. Cheers.